Okay, guys, I think we should get started. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me today. If there's anyone who hasn't yet seen me before, my name's Tom and I work with the client engagement team here at aXcelerate. And today I'm going to be hosting session 6 of 13 of our refresher training courses. And today we're going to be looking at workshop bookings and enrolments. Now, this is a follow-on to an earlier session that we had, which was on workshop management. Now, if you haven't seen that subsequent session, that earlier session, I do strongly recommend visiting our aXcelerate YouTube support channel, where we do have the previous recordings available. The knowledge obtained in our workshop management session is crucial for understanding today's session, which very likely won't take the full 30 minutes. So if there's anybody watching this live, please feel free to ask any questions in the chat as we progress through, and I'll answer those throughout the session today. Okay, guys, now what are we going to be looking at today? We're going to start off with a very quick refresher or review of what we covered in that previous session, just in case there's anyone with us today who isn't too familiar with it. We'll then be looking at how to handle workshop bookings for public workshops and then in-house workshops. We're going to be looking at editing and recording various booking statuses. So whether a student has attended a workshop, whether they're booked, whether they're cancelled, so on and so forth. We'll look at marking attendance in workshops. And we're going to finish off by looking at booking confirmation emails, how to edit those templates that go out, and a very brief look at accredited workshops. Okay, guys, I'm going to jump into my aXcelerate account. Now, those of you who have just joined me today, thanks very much for coming along. This session today likely won't take the full 30 minutes. So if you did have any questions to ask in the chat, please by all means do, which I will be monitoring throughout the session today. Now, as a refresher in regards to what we looked at last time, I'm going to be searching the workshops in my account, and I'm going to be clicking submit just so I can see every single workshop that we have scheduled. Now, what we looked at last session was this CPR refresher workshop and this knitting 101 workshop. Now, the reason I want to highlight these again is because one of these is a public workshop and one of these is an in-house workshop. And it's very important to understand the difference between the two for what we're looking at today. A public workshop is a session that anyone from the public can book themselves into. The example that we have here is a knitting 101 course. Our organization provides a public knitting course that members of the community can join, and they pay $50 individually to join the session. Whereas this in-house one that we've created, in-house is when an employer or an employee has approached an organization and has asked us to undertake training for a select group of people. The organization is being charged for that training, not the individuals. That's when you select in-house. So to get started today, we're going to be looking at our Knitting 101 workshop, which is a public workshop. So let's go in here. Now, we want to book students into this class, but we can see there are no students yet booked. So very simply, we select Book Students. And just like when enrolling students into a class, we search for contacts in aXcelerate. If they haven't been added, of course, you can follow the method that we outlined in our first refresher training session by adding a contact or by adding a new contact on the right here. Now, for this example, I am going to enroll Oscar Weber, and I'm also going to enroll Arthur Menethil. And let's enroll these. Now, what we're doing here is we are booking 2 people into the workshop at the same time. We could book 10 people in at the same time. We could book 1 person in at the same time. Completely depends on how you guys want to go about it. Now, the date of booking by default will be today's date, but you can go through and update that. Now, I did gloss over this section here. Essentially, what it's doing is just confirming that this is the workshop we're booking them into. The method that they booked can be phone, email, fax, etc. For this example, I'm going to say they booked via email, and I'll show you why this is important later on. If there's a particular in-house purchase order that we want to use to track this student's journey, we can enter that in here. If we look in booking, this is a custom field, so we can ignore this. Log entry comments. Now, if I was to say, for example, emailed the admin team asking to be booked in, we're essentially keeping a log of what they did to get booked into the session, i.e. email the admin team, and I'll show you where this gets recorded shortly. So we've now continued with the booking. The students are booked into the class, or sorry, into the workshop, but here it's asking us to confirm payment details. Now, in our previous session, when we set up this workshop type, we said that each participant is going to be billed $50. So we can see here that we are creating an invoice for Oscar Weber. If I were to click create new invoice and issue invoice number and confirm the price, that would then generate an invoice. We're going to be looking at invoices in our finance session, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. So for simplicity today, I'm going to continue with a regular booking and I'm not going to create an invoice. So I'll be confirming this price. And so we can now see that both Arthur and Oscar have been enrolled into our Knitting 101 workshop, and we have the confirmation at the top showing that they've been booked. That means that we could now completely navigate away from this page and everything will be fine. However, on this page, we have the ability to send booking confirmation emails if we would like. For example, I have a template in here called Booking Confirmation Workshop. If I then preview email, you'll see on the left, this is being sent to both Arthur and Oscar, and the details of the workshop are in front of us here. Now, this is a system default template, so they can look much prettier than this if you wanted to with your custom branding and colors. We'll briefly be looking at that at the end of the session today as well. Now, I'm going to navigate back and I want to show you here how we can send booking confirmation emails from this page. So let's just say that we booked the students in. We didn't send off an email because we hadn't yet come up with the location, but we now want to send those students the booking confirmation email. The best way to do that is by at the top here in this list, we're going to select templates. Now, what we can do here, this looks very similar to what we were just looking at. I can again select Booking Confirmation Workshop. I'm going to submit this. And we're now looking back at that same screen. We're sending this to Arthur and Oscar, confirming details about the booking. Down the bottom, I'm going to click on email to send this. If there's anything that I wanted to quickly change, I could click on edit template. And this allows me to then edit the email and apply changes. I don't need to change anything here. So I'm going to go back into template. Going to choose booking confirmation for workshop, and I'm going to send this off to the students, double checking they've been selected, and then I'm going to go down and hit email. What it's doing here is confirming that we're sending it to people, and if we want to CC anybody in this email as well. If we did, we could simply type an email here. Now you'll notice that I've clicked it and it's given me a pre-selection of emails. This is because, by default, every administrator appears in this list. However, you can type in your own email, a custom email, and it will still CC the contact. Now, there are a few other options down the bottom in regards to formatting and attachments. We won't be using these today because we simply just want to send a booking confirmation email to the students. So I'm going to click on send, and we see confirmation that the template emails will be sent shortly. So that's how we handle public workshop bookings. While I'm in here, I want to highlight your attention or bring your attention to this status column. And you'll notice that next to both Arthur and Oscar, it says B. If we click on B, this actually takes us into the status log for this particular student. And what B actually means is that they've been booked. Now, for example, let's say that I want to say that this student has cancelled. We simply, underneath where it says add new status log entry, we select the menu, and I'm going to change it to cancelled. Once I've done that, a new box will appear with today's date by default, the method they used to update their status. So we could say, for example, that Arthur gave us a call to let us know that he's cancelling. So we could say Arthur called the front desk to request cancellation of his booking and add new status. So we can see now, it's like a log, shows the history. He was booked on the 8th of July, but he was then later cancelled on the same day. And we can see the comments relating to why he was booked in and why he was cancelled. Now, if I go back to our workshop and we look back at that status column, firstly, we'll see that Arthur is now in the cancelled students column, but you'll also see that this now says BC, because what it's doing is giving us a visual representation of his journey throughout this workshop, showing that he was booked and then cancelled. Now, let's say that Arthur has called front desk again because he's changed his mind. He keeps flipping and flopping, and he actually does want to attend this. So we can re-click on the status to come in here and edit it. Another method we have is using this actions button on the right. So we can select an action and change status. It does the exact same thing. So I'm going to book this student back in with a normal booking for today via phone. I'm going to say Arthur called back and apologized. He does want to attend. And let's continue. Now, what it's doing here is it's asking us to confirm because we've actually cancelled him from the workshop. So it's just saying, hey, watch out. You've marked him as cancelled, but you're trying to book him into the same workshop. That is what we want to do. So we're going to force create bookings. It's then going to re-show us that same screen with pricing information because we have rebooked him into the class. And just like I did earlier, I'm going to continue with regular booking because for this example today, I don't want to create an invoice. In practice, you would very likely select the latter option and actually create an invoice. But again, we'll be looking at that in a future session. So I've now booked in Arthur, and look, I don't want to send him another booking confirmation email because he's already got the original one. I'm going to go back to the workshop. We'll see Arthur is back and confirmed, and we can see that he was booked, cancelled, and then booked. Now, let's just say this happened on the 6th of July, and today's the 8th. So this has already happened. We want to go in there and mark attendance for both Arthur and Oscar. Oscar did attend the session, but Arthur, even though he said he was booked, didn't actually turn up. So I'm going to click on View/Mark Attendance. I'm going to quickly make the dates because we do need dates in order to mark attendance. As you can see, I just very quickly selected Create Dates, and it's an automatic process. And we can now say that between 10 and 12 p.m. on the 6th of July, Arthur did not attend and Oscar did. We're going to save those changes. Now, if we go back to the workshop, this hasn't actually changed anything here, because we still need to manually show that their status is attended. So what we would do is we could go into Arthur, click on the status, and add a new one for attended. Now, we're simply here adding a log against his status that he was attended. By marking his attendance, we have already recorded that he attended this particular workshop. We're just adding the status to reflect that as well. So I'm going to say method in person. Arthur was a no-show. And I'm going to add this new status. Oh, I'm going to edit that because I said he was attended, when what I needed to say was, look, I don't know if I can actually edit this. I'm going to go back and delete that log just by selecting the delete button to the right. Oh, I didn't mean to select him there. Sorry, guys. I'm going to click on status here, and we're going to say did not attend. That's what I want. I'm going to say in person, Arthur was a no-show. Add new status. Let's go back into Knitting 101. We can see at a glance that Arthur was booked, he cancelled, he booked again, and then just didn't show up on the day. Whereas with Oscar, we want to show that he did attend. So I'm just going to say, look, we don't even need to log anything there in terms of comments. I'm just going to say he attended in person. Add new status. Let's go back to Knitting 101. Look at that. Oscar was booked and attended. That's public management in terms, so public enrollment management. It's pretty straightforward, guys. Where it does get a bit more tricky is when we start doing in-house enrollments. So I'm going to quickly navigate back to my workshop list, and I'm going to have a look at the CPR refresher course that we created in our session the other day. Now, two things about this particular workshop. One is it's in-house, and we can see there under the coordination type. And the second thing is this is an accredited workshop, and we can tell that, not by navigating away like I just did, but instead by looking down here at the units of competency. These are accredited units, so this is an accredited workshop. This is where it gets a little bit more tricky. Valerie, I have seen your question. I will answer that in just a moment. I'll just quickly finish my train of thought here. So we're going to now book a student into an in-house workshop. So just a reminder, in-house workshops, this particular client, Wes Minuta from Best RTO, has approached our RTO and said, I want you guys to conduct CPR refresher training for my employees. We don't bill the individual employees. We bill their organization a lump sum. And what we set last session was that we're billing them $1,000. Now, because we don't need to record payment information for individual contacts, when we're adding students to an in-house workshop, it's actually a different screen. We did briefly look at this last time, but it essentially allows you to bulk add people to a workshop, and you don't need to worry about creating a contact profile for them. It automatically gets done. Now, because this is an accredited workshop, we also want to see if any of the students have studied with us before, and if they have, we want to make sure that when we enter their details here in this screen in front of us, that if they exist in our aXcelerate account, it does a check to see if they are present. Now, for example, I'm going to say that every person at this organization, their email is labeled first name dot last name at the domain. So I, for example, am going to say at the regattahotel.com. Now, if I type in James Keenan and click away, you'll now see it knows that his email is james.keenan@regattahotel.com. If you wanted to add his date of birth, which for accredited training is strongly recommended, we could do that as well. So I'm going to put in some dummy information here. Now let's scroll down, and this is where we can see some more information. When we create these students, it's asking if we want to apply the organization to their profile, which we do. So we're going to leave that ticked. If we wanted to record any USI exemptions, we could do so in here. Because this is a demonstration account, I'm going to proceed with no exemptions. And let's pretend that I had actually populated this USI field with information, just like you would in a real world setting. Now, this is where it checks for duplicate entries. At the moment, we're asking for it to search on given name, surname, and email. That's a pretty good check. If someone has all of those three details matching, it's definitely a duplicate, and it knows to just merge those two contacts. We could change it so it's given name, surname, date of birth, so on and so forth. USI is another really good one to go off, seeing as it is, after all, a unique identifier. Look, let's change this to USI given name and surname, because I think that's a pretty good duplication check. Automatically generates student users. This relates to whether you're on aXcelerate Turbo or not. If you're on Turbo and any of these students needed to access the system to undertake learnings, select yes. If you're looking at this field and you don't know what it means, simply select no. Now, again, this is just a custom field that we've added in, so this won't be in your account. You can ignore that. But down here, accredited details. This is very important. We're confirming that we want these students that we've entered above to be enrolled into these accredited units. And we then need to enter specific compliance-related information. We've seen this field quite a few times in our sessions. These are seen mostly on class enrollments, but I'm going to quickly go through and just select some various options. These are things that you guys as an RTO will know the answers to. If there's any fields that you're looking at here and you're going, I don't know what that's for, it's probably because you don't need to know what it's for. If you look at contracts and scheduling and don't know what that means, don't touch it. If you know what contracts are for, go for it. Now I'm going to register these students, and we've now got Tom Bass and James Keenan enrolled into the accredited workshop. From here, it works exactly the same as it did with the public workshop, where we can change people's statuses, we can mark attendance, and we can send booking confirmation emails through the template field here. Now, I'm going to briefly look at chat because I do see there's a couple of questions. So firstly, Iveta, the reason it says there's 10 actual is because if we update the class, this is a field that I entered in an earlier session. It's essentially the expected number of students within this workshop. So I've said that, look, overall, I'm thinking we're going to get 10 people enrolled in this. So it's purely just an at-a-glance piece of information for other administrators who know that we're expecting about 10 people in this class. Now, I'm going to start these questions from the top. So Valerie, I'll read yours aloud. This was in regards to the status change we looked at. So you asked, is that status change to attended required for compliance? And is there a way to bulk add the status of attended to students in a workshop? Now, to answer that, Valerie, in terms of the compliance-related attendance marking, it's done so through this method here that we looked at earlier. So we could say, Tom and James attended on these days, save that. That's our accredited attendance marking. Whereas saying that someone's attended in the status is purely just so we have a record of it, which I still strongly recommend that you do. And is there any way to bulk add the status of attended? Look, I don't think there is. Maybe, I know, well, obviously there is in the compliance way in terms of view/mark attendance. Look, I'm going to test this, Valerie. I'm going to change status. No, I don't think there is, unfortunately. I know the team's making a lot of changes in the future to how workshops work and the information displayed. So this is likely one of the things that we have discussed as well, the bulk updating of these statuses. So in short, Valerie, you can bulk update the compliance marking, but you have to individually update the student statuses. Now, Matt, this actually ties into your same question. Is there a bulk way to cancel participants? We could cancel the workshop as a whole by clicking the button at the top here. But otherwise, we do need to go through and individually update these students so that we do have accurate note keeping against each student. Now, John's also, and of course, guys, if you have any follow-up questions to the questions you've asked, by all means, please leave it in the chat and I'll absolutely respond. Now, John has a question. Is merging of duplicate contacts a good decision? Because we've encountered an issue where data across multiple contacts didn't successfully carry over after merging. So, John, that's a very concerning issue that you've had because our merge duplicate contacts feature transfers all of the relevant information. So let's say, for example, that there was Tom Bassingthwaite 1 and Tom Bassingthwaite 2. And they're both me, but due to a data entry error, there's now 2 of me. If I had completed a certificate 4 in work health and safety in number 1, and I had completed a certificate 3 in child safety in number 2, when I merge the contacts, all the training related information will come across as well. So I'd be really interested, if that's an ongoing issue for you, please let me know in chat and I'll reach out after the session because that sounds quite concerning and certainly isn't something that should be happening. The duplication merge feature is very beneficial and we do recommend our clients utilize it. Now, Maheen has asked a question and I'm glad you asked this because I forgot to brush over it. Now, when we are looking at these in-house workshops and we clicked on book students, this is where we were manually adding the information. Now, Maheen has asked, can we use upload booking spreadsheets for bulk uploads? For this method, you absolutely can. If you click on download spreadsheet booking, it downloads an Excel document that is a CSV file. You simply type in the information that you need or export it from your system, align them in the right columns, and then reselect upload booking spreadsheet. And then the process is the same as what we looked at earlier. Alrighty, guys, did anyone have any final questions for me today? Because I think, just going over my notes here, one thing I did want to show you guys quickly is the booking confirmation email. So if we go view and we go template, so this is what we were looking at earlier, the booking confirmation. Now, if we wanted to change the information on here, one method is to navigate to actually send it and click on edit template. And this will allow us to make changes. However, there is actually a better way to navigate in and action these changes. From here, we're going to hover over courses and click on templates. Now, we're going to be looking at templates in our next session, which is on communication, but I'll briefly show you guys in here as a little teaser. So I've typed in book so I can find our booking confirmation for workshops, and I'm going to click on edit on the side here. This then brings me straight through to a screen where I can choose whether it's portrait landscape, update the margins, enter the text, enter a heading, so on and so forth. I have complete control over what appears in here. Could delete all of it if I wanted to. Could add a smiley face in here if I wanted to. And down the bottom, we have dynamic fields. So what we would do here, if we got the student-related field and we took trainee full name and we copy-pasted that into here we go, trainee full name, surname. I could even get rid of this and just do this. What we're doing there is when we run this template, aXcelerate looks and goes, oh, the trainee name, okay, I need to put that here. Trainee organization, okay, I need to put that here, so on and so forth. So I'm going to quickly jump back into our presentation over here. So guys, in summary, what we've looked at today is I gave you a very quick refresher of public versus in-house workshops. We then had a quick look at non-accredited versus accredited. We then looked at public workshop bookings, in-house workshop bookings, editing those bookings once they have been put in, marking attendance from a compliance and an in-house point of view, sending and editing booking confirmation emails, and we did have a quick look at accredited workshops and some information relevant to those. Now, there was a question asked by Namratna, who is with us today in the previous session, about linking accredited classes to accredited workshops. That's actually a lot more advanced, and we will cover that in an upcoming session called Advanced Workshop Management. But Namratna, I'll reach out to you after this webinar today to run you through and explain what I was planning to explain to you. Now, guys, thanks very much for your time today. That looks like it's the end of our session. So, John, I can see that you have left some more comments about your question, about your issue facing. So what I'll do is I'll reach out and give you a call after this as well, just to discuss further and make sure we get to the bottom of it. But guys, our next session, as I said, is going to be on communication. So talking to students in terms of sending emails and SMSs. And we're going to look at that template management in more depth on the 13th of July. So guys, thank you very much for your time. Again, if you're watching this live, please feel free to hang around for another couple of minutes if you do have further questions. But otherwise, guys, as always, thank you very much for your time, and I hope you have a great afternoon. See you later.